You've had such a diverse journey across digital, print, and broadcast. What initially drew you into the world of media and marketing, and how has the passion evolved over the years?
To tell you the honest truth, media and marketing was never on my mind when I was a student. I was training to be a statistician and got my first job with a data science company at that point in time, GE Capital. Having said that, I think it was a confluence of happy coincidences that got me my first job in media with the television network Star TV then. And after that, I worked with a bunch of large organizations. And the passion continues. And I think it has only grown over the years because if you really look at it, media has really been one of the very dynamic sectors which has been disrupted by technology at such a fast pace. There was print at one point in time which ruled everything, and then television came and disrupted it, and then the digital era started. And as we speak today, we are in this age of how AI is actually disrupting everything, including media. So that is the passion that keeps me going, is the constant change and learning alongside.
You've been actively supporting women in leadership. What changes have you noticed in the industry when it comes to inclusivity? And what more do you feel can be done to empower women in media and marketing?
So I think there's been a huge shift in inclusiveness of women in media and marketing, and more for the positive. So that's the good news. So if you look at it, when I think I was started working, the culture was not very inclusive. There were not so many women, especially not in leadership. And there was a little bit of a negative bias, and there was a sort of a boys' club. And especially, when you want to get into leadership, what is really important is not just your skill and work, to be able to network with clients, with your colleagues, with your seniors. And I think at that point in time, there was not so much opportunity given to women. They were not included. It was largely the men hanging out more with the men. I think with so much of conversation and awareness and education over the years, a lot has changed. But unfortunately, that negative bias today has become a positive bias. So let me explain to you what I mean. I think when I was younger, a lot of my colleagues would go out for drinks and they would not even ask me on a Friday evening, right? And we used to work really hard, get tired, and the idea of the Friday evening drinks was just boss bitching, right? But they would never include me in that drink session, etc. And I think that was a negative bias because they said, "Oh, maybe she's the only one who's the girl on the team. Maybe you should not ask her or whatever." Now I think it's become a positive bias because people feel like, "Oh my God, if we ask women to come after work and hang out with us, we will be looked at people who are not sensitive towards them. Maybe they have things to do at home, look after their family, parents, children, spouses, or whatever," right? So that bias has changed, but from a negative bias, it's become to a positive bias. I think what we really need to do to change the situation is treat women as equal, allow them to make their choices, whether they would like to be doing something or not doing something, right? So that I hope in the next few years is the big change that we see in the industry in general.
From traditional advertising to digital transformation, your career covers all the sides of media. How did you manage to transform and evolve into every shift?
I think I've been lucky to be given the opportunity to work with different kind of media as media kept evolving. And to be honest, one, I was lucky to get the opportunity. Second, I think it's my constant thirst for learning and knowledge that has helped me do well in each of these shifts. Like I said before, the industry has been disrupted by technology a lot. A lot is changing even as we speak today. And to stay on top of that change, you have to constantly upskill yourself and educate yourself and have that, quench for constant gaining of knowledge. And I do it in two ways. One is, obviously, read as much as I can on the industry, hear blogs, follow leaders in the industry, talk to a lot of industry leaders. I have access to them, so I'm able to learn from their experiences and what they're doing and kind of synthesize on how we can apply it on the business that I'm running. The second thing is, I think I've never been shy of learning from my juniors as well. And I work, over the last 10 years, I've worked with a lot of young people who've been super specialists in their skills. And I'm one of those, who's not shy of asking them to teach me on the little things that they do. I think when you have the confidence to learn, whether it's from somebody who's junior than you and has a very specific skill, or learn from industry leaders or your peers, uh, that's what gives you the big, ability to be able to transcend the changes which are happening to the industry.
Being in leadership for so long, how do you personally unwind? What's that one thing non-negotiable in your self-care routine?
What unbinding means to me is to be able to switch off from your day to day and apply yourself in a very different area. And I think each of us have hobbies which you must pursue. What I'm doing currently is pursuing my hobby, which is interior designing and home styling. So what I do over the weekends is very different, which is from my day job, which is digital marketing. But I think that little break and applying myself to a very different area creatively gives me that dopamine and that energy to get back to work. But while doing all this, it can be also a lot. So the one negotiable that I don't give up ever, and I've never given up in my life is my 8 hours of sleep.
Finally, if you had to sum up your professional mantra in one line, what would it be?
I would say disrupt yourself before others disrupt you and keep hustling.
Looking back at your career across diverse platforms, what's the one personal lesson or experience that really shaped your perspective on such leadership and success?
I think there are many experiences, but the two that really stand out for me, which were really learning lessons for me in my career, one was very early on. It was my first job when I worked with my bosses, and they were very hard taskmasters. And to tell you some personal instances, I mean, they would grill you if you did not know the revenue number till the last digit, or if you were going to the client's office and didn't know whether it was the left or the right or which floor the client was seated in, they would get really upset, and it wasn't taken lightly. And at that point in time, when I was a youngster starting off, and I was like, what's the point of all this? But I think the lesson that it really taught me is that you have to be detail oriented to be able to succeed in everything. So you got to put in the hard work, focus on the details, and only then you can achieve results. I think another second instance which has really shaped me and has impressed upon me, and which I've taken up in my career, is what I learned from another boss of mine. He is very well respected in the advertising industry, Ashish Basing. And the one thing he did was, when this digital era was coming in, he always said, I hired leaders which were better than me in digital. And he empowered all of us. I think the lesson that I learned on leadership from him was that if you've got to succeed in these changing times, you have to be confident enough yourself to get in people who are better than you at the skill and allow them an environment that they'll succeed. So I think these are two very important lessons, one very early on in my career that I learned, and one more recently, which have shaped me.
How do you recharge and take care of your own health while juggling between multiple roles and responsibilities?
So the couple of things I think which most people do today is I try to eat healthy. I don't follow any particular diets or fads, but try to have a more balanced meal. Second thing is I try to take out at least 30 minutes for some form of exercise. Earlier I used to exercise a lot in the gym. These days I'm not finding the time, but I at least try to go out for a walk for 30 minutes a day. I told you I sleep at least 8 hours, but I think most important to take care of your health is you need a stress-free environment. And for me, my downtime is with my family, with my daughter, with my husband, and spending time with them. That is my safe space, and I think that allows me to give time for self-care, spending time with them.